Welcome to the Inspiration North podcast, inspiring stories from inspirational people and how they found their passion, their true north. I'm James Eves.
And I'm Michelle Minikin, and this is the Inspiration North podcast.
Today's episode, bringing courage and culinary creations to people at home with Gwen Young. We talk about being into IT from a young age, her abilities in intertwingling recipes thanks to her project management skills, and her strategic pregnancy that helped her leave teaching.
Gwen's portfolio career is currently in Stage 3, food. Stage 1 was an IT professional and Stage 2 was in education. Having sold her last food business, an organic food delivery scheme, in June 2020, she has created It's From Scratch Limited with a mission to make recipes a reality. She hopes to get everyone cooking by removing ingredient, time and skill barriers. When people ask for volunteers, Gwen has to sit on her hands. She sings in a choir and is in an unofficial clothes swap arrangement / battle with her teenagers. So, Gwen, thank you for coming on the podcast. It's really nice to sort of reconnect with you after all these seems like years, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's probably not years, but it is really, really nice. Thanks to LinkedIn and spotting your name, and yeah, it's been great, really good.
Cool. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've been up to as well. So, our first question: did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I don't know if you've had this before, but I'm actually an award-winning person who knew what they wanted to be when they grew up. So when I was at primary school, my teachers entered me for a I'd Like to Be competition, which was a creative writing competition held by our local job centre. And I wrote 2 essays for it. One where I wanted to be like a magistrate or a judge or something in the legal profession. And then another one where I wanted to have a small local business and manage that. And I ripped up the judge one and entered the small local business one. And I didn't win, but I did get to go and have the canapes, etc., at the job centre with a local celebrity who used to read the Times news at that time. That was very exciting, very, very exciting. But I did get told off by my teacher because she said if I'd entered the other one, she knew of a magistrate, because the main prize was to go and do that job for a day and with someone. And she knew of a magistrate who really wanted to encourage young people into the legal profession. So she was a bit annoyed that I didn't get the first prize, but there we go. But it was nice. The canapes, I seem to remember there were the canapes as much as 1970s canapes were in that time, were really good. And it was very exciting. And I got a certificate and a new dress and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So, and then I guess I just had a time where I wasn't bothered about what I was going to do when I grew up. And then when I was about 14, 15, home computers came into being. So I think I had a ZX81, which was a computer without a screen, or just had a little like calculator type screen at the top. And, I'm not going to apologize for my, I'm showing my age. I'm not going to apologize for my age. This is the age that I am, which brings with it all the experience that I've got. So I had that for a little while, but there was very little you could do with it. And then computers, very quickly, home computers got a bit bigger. And I distinctly remember begging my mum and dad for the next generation of the computer, which was either a Commodore 64 or a VIC-20. So the Commodore 64 was just a bit out of reach for my parents, and they did get themselves into some quite serious debt to get me the VIC-20. But I got that, and that was just it was just IT and computers for me all the way from there on in. I plugged it into a little portable telly, had a great little cassette recorder for recording all of my programs on. I used to buy a computer magazine. My dad used to read out the BBC Basic or the basic programs. I used to type them in. We used to debug them together. So it was a really great father-daughter activity. And I was just absolutely sold. That was just what I was going to do. I did O-level computing or whatever it was called, computer studies, I think it was called, and some other, like whatever was a BTEC equivalent in those days. Really loved it. Related very much to Ben, who was on one of your previous podcasts, when he was talking about, he actually stood up and took over from the teacher in one of his lessons. I was cringing a bit because I did that. You know, I was in my O-level computer studies class and I had a really, really tricky problem. But because I was spending every night on my computer at home, if it was a tricky problem that I couldn't solve, in my mind, it needed his undivided attention. And the other pupils around me were just not at my level. So when they were coming and saying things like, oh, I can't print or something really basic, I wanted his attention. So I would go and I would say, look, you just look at what I'm doing and try and sort out my problem. I'll go and sort them out. So, I mean, how arrogant for some 15-year-old girl to be doing that. But yeah, so when Ben was talking about that, I was cringing a bit.
I don't think I ever did any teaching assistants. So when I was in school,
No, I think, like I say, I think you've got to be a special sort of arrogant to do that. And I wasn't, you know, in all other aspects, I was Miss Goody Two Shoes at school. Absolutely, you know, to the extent that I went on a France trip and they gave me the award for the most troublemaking student, but it was so that the teachers could have a good laugh about me because I was so, you know, no bother whatsoever. So, but my school then didn't do A levels in computing or anything like that because I don't think it had got to that sort of level. So I did other A levels, physics, which I shouldn't have done, failed at really miserably, but applied to do computing and operational research at Leeds. And just loved it and went from there into a career in IT. Career number one.
What was it about computing, Gwen?
Oh, goodness me. It was at that time, it was really creative, but really accessible at the same time. You know, everybody could get a computer, whereas previously, like I say, you know, it was pie in the sky. You saw them on Tomorrow's World and you thought, no, we'll never have one of those in our own homes. It was the accessibility, it was the creativity that you could do. Like I say, it was the fact that it was something that me and my dad could do together. And it was just magical what it could do on your screen. And you think, well, I've done that. And, you know, the things that we were doing, it's the first program that you do in BASIC, it prints a pyramid of 5 or 6 stars on your screen. I remember being thrilled about that. And then and the debugging as well. So obviously if someone's reading from a magazine and someone else is typing in, there's going to be loads and loads of mistakes. But the fact that you would go through and use your logic and where is this mistake, and going through methodically just made me, I just loved every aspect of it. Now, and, you know, things have moved on so massively since then, and I've lost touch with, you know, a lot of it now. But the basics of like debugging and you know, being really methodical are still there in IT. My husband's in IT to this day, so that, you know, it's still the basics of testing as you go, being really careful, you know, user testing and making sure whatever program you've written is understandable to someone else. So it's, you know, the basics are still there, but it's the technology's just gone, you know, amazing.
Yeah, it's about 4,000 different computing languages now. It's like,
yes, exactly. And then, of course, you know, when someone hears that you've got a degree in IT, it's like, oh, you'll be able to help me with And it'll be something on their smartphone. It's like, oh, I haven't really got that. But generally, I can always get to the bottom of it, and Google's your friend, isn't it, when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, Google's magic.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. I remember the day that someone said to me, and this was when I was working at British Airways, oh, have you seen this? I've got the beta version of this new search engine called Google. And I just distinctly remember thinking, oh, another search engine, my goodness, because I think we were all using Yahoo or Ask Jeeves or something like that. And it's just, you know, seeing the transition right from, like I say, sticking a cassette tape into a normal cassette recorder that at the same time I was using to record the top 20 off Radio 1. Sorry, I know that's illegal.
We all did it.
Top
exactly.
Of the pops.
Yes. But to say that, you know, to what we've got now is just, phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So you started off in British Airways then?
No, so my graduate job was at Northern Rock Building Society, the now defunct Northern Rock Building Society, which was, so I started off as a graduate trainee programmer and progressed a little way, let's say, to I think I was analyst programmer when I left. But you know, what graduate job doesn't involve loads of work and loads of play? So obviously it's sad what happened to Northern Rock at the end. When I think back now, it's hardly surprising. We did work really hard, but ethically there was stuff going on there that just wasn't right. But yeah, we just had a ball. It was a fantastic place to have a graduate job. Met my current husband there and moved down south. Got another job as a programmer at WH Smith News in Swindon. Was there for another 3 years, and then found a sort of a niche at that point. So we started adopting a project management style called Dynamic Systems Development Method. And I really got into the project management side of things, did all of the qualifications for that, and then had my first go at being self-employed. And set myself up as a self-employed rapid applications development DSDM consultant, and had one client, which was British Airways. So went and did another stint at British Airways, which once again was just an amazing place to work. Love it. Even now, if anyone ever has any like bad experience, they lose their luggage or anything like that with British Airways, I'm always straight on to, you know, defend British Airways. I just had the best time. I just loved that organisation, loved that company. The offices are beautiful. It's just beside Heathrow. Just really, really fantastic time, and loved it. And, you know, got to really develop my skills in project management. And at the time, you know, you can imagine with project management, everybody wants their projects developed quicker, faster, cheaper, and to have their staff engaged, etc., all of which this project management methodology was delivering. So I was certainly very, very busy all of the time. And then I got pregnant. And then 9/11 happened. So I wasn't going back to British Airways anytime soon. But like I say, it was a fantastic place to work and a fantastic job to do. And it also came at the time where I just had a couple of disappointments so the very last project I worked on, this team was so motivated, and I think that was because of the project management methodology we were working on, and the way we organised it went so well that the project came in really, really quickly. So came in under time and under budget. And then the project manager who I was working with got hauled over the coals because his estimating must have been wrong. So I just thought, what do we need to do?
What do you want?
What do you need to do? You know, he's doing his absolute best. He's pulled out all the stops. He's really motivated. He's motivated his team. And then you're criticising him because maybe his project now has left you with some programmers who've got nothing to do for a week or so. Yeah, so it was just, that was a bit disheartening. I thought, oh, what do you do? What do you do in this sort of, big organisations are like that. They like the same again, don't they? They're like jigsaw pieces that fit in, and that'll fit into that piece of the jigsaw. But yeah, exactly. So I suppose it was sad not to be returning, but also it was good in a way.
Yeah, it was good timing, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it, exactly. Yeah, and I did distinctly remember. So I left to have my daughter. She was born in 2001, and I remember sitting watching 9/11 unfold, breastfeeding her, thinking, not going back to British Airways then. So it was time for a rethink at that point. Yeah. Which then led me into career number 2. So the hormones were going around me big time. I've always been one for community and doing what I can. And it was about I can't remember what campaign it was on the television, but there was just a campaign saying, if you can teach, we've got a shortage of teachers, you should be teaching. And I was like, oh God, yes. And I've got the next generation in my arms. I should be doing this thing. I should be teaching. I've got this skill in IT. That's exactly what I should be doing. So I applied when my daughter was about 1 to do a on-the-job graduate teacher training scheme.
Cool.
And I was accepted straight away because obviously I was wanting to teach. There was a shortage of secondary teachers, and I was teaching in a shortage subject. It was sponsored by Reading University. I went to Reading University once, and the rest of the time was just literally, there's your class.
It's some kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Secondary school as well, ouch.
Yeah, and I was unsuited to that job so much. So I was just not, I knew my subject. Because of the project planning, I'm great at project planning. Because at that time, my electronic whiteboards were coming in. The staff and the headmaster absolutely loved me, because if there was any issues, I would just be like, there you go, you're all set up. And I would sit in on other people's classes. So I was doing the job of learning to be a teacher and doing a bit of tech support as well. So, everything else was going great. The one bit I was shocking at was the discipline. I was just shocking. I didn't know what to do. I'd had no training in what to do. I am a soft touch right to the very heart of me. I was just awful. I was just terrible. So the things that stick in my mind is that I had a year 9 class, and later on when I was talking to other teachers, they all went, year 9.
Hormones.
Yeah, exactly. So they were all sitting around, and I was teaching relational databases, and I thought, and that's one of my favourite subjects. I was well into it, and I was saying, so if we wanted to capture some information about somebody, what would you want? And we're going name, address, date of birth, and then someone said sex, and I wrote sex down, and one of them put their hand up and went, is that boy or girl, or have you had it? It's like, and that was it. I was ruined for the rest of the lesson then. Because how do you deal with that? Is that funny? Do you just laugh that off? Is that a sending out of them?
Just throw a blackboard rubber at them. That's what our teachers did.
Exactly. I was just, and there was loads of situations I didn't know how to cope with them. And plus I was teaching in a classroom full of computers, and that I detest. I'm sorry for anyone who plays computer games. I'm passionately against them, because I was at the front of a massive classroom. If you can imagine, PCs were still not exactly small. They were desktop computers. One of the biggest classrooms in the school, trying to teach and trying to project my tiny soprano voice to the back. And all the year 10s at the back are just playing whatever computer game was, so I'd be like giving my all about Excel spreadsheets, and they'd be like, bang, 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 shoot, kill, something. So I managed 2 years, and just got pregnant again to get out of that.
It's a strategic pregnancy.
Yes, exactly. And I remember going back, and all the kids going, Miss, when are you coming back? I'm not coming back here.
I don't like you lot. I'm going. Beat me up, Scotty.
And the thing is, it was a grammar school, because in Buckinghamshire, where I lived, they had a grammar school system. And I remember going to the interview and saying, what's this school like? And the staff were saying, seriously, you haven't heard of Sir William Borlase, and it's got this amazing reputation. So, we're not talking bad kids there. I was just rubbish. I could have done it if I'd had somebody else there who was a good teacher, but a discipline. But I was just, everything else was fine. I was just terrible at the discipline.
It's you have to be taught how to do it, though. It's not something that you naturally just, I know I'm going to be disciplinarian today. It's the strategies. Exactly.
Yeah, and my kids would say as well that I'm a soft touch there as well. So it was always going to happen, but I just didn't think that one through. I was just like, I need to teach. I need to give something back to the community. If I don't teach, who's going to teach? And
and you had that experience as well from when you were 15.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. Yeah, maybe it was based on that. Maybe it was based on that bit of arrogance that I can do it.
So that was career number 2, strategic pregnancy number 2.
Yes.
What came next?
So then so it might have looked like I moved jobs a lot, but then I managed to do 13 and a half years in one job, which I'm super proud of. So we were receiving a vegetable box. Me and my neighbour used to get an organic vegetable box once a fortnight, and we used to split it between us. And my husband had got to the point where he was a bit sick of his job and he fancied having his own business. And obviously I didn't know where I was going with my job. I'd gone back and I was doing some ad hoc consultancy with the project management job, and I was doing that with Henley Management College. And but that wasn't that wasn't going to earn me a living or anything like that. So we looked into buying a franchise from this organisation called Riverford. I don't know if I can mention it, but there you go. Yeah. I have. And we applied, but there was only franchises. We lived in the south of England. There was only franchises going in London. We lived in Maidenhead. We were about as close to London as we wanted to get. Yeah. Really, we had to consider schools and houses and things like that. So we just put it on the back burner, still kept getting our veg box. And then there was a newsletter in the veg box saying that they teamed up with another farm in the north of England in Newby Wisk and North Allerton, and now they were going to be expanding into the north. And we thought, we'll dusted off our application. Probably took about a month, 18 months maybe. And we started as the franchisees for Riverford in the northeast. So that was both of us, gave up our job. Ian did 6 months doing both, and then so he was in charge of logistics, so he was driving the van, and I was in charge of marketing. I did take another admin job just to keep us through, because obviously starting a new business, you haven't got not many customers, not much money, etc. And after about 18 months, Ian realised that IT was his first love and that he wasn't enjoying having his own business at all. And the plan then became that I would employ some staff to do what he was doing, and he would go and get a job. So he did go and get a job, which he's still at today. And my goodness, he loves that job. He just, honestly, it's just worked out so brilliantly. He's just a case study in someone who just loves their job. I don't know what his organisation does. They sprinkle some magic dust on him, but he just loves his job. So that's worked out great, and it worked out great for me. So I was loving doing the veg box scheme. I was loving all the interaction with the customers. And from that, obviously, I've always had an interest in food and cooking. So I was able to incorporate that into my customer care. So loads of customers would be like, oh, I've got 3 cabbages, what should I do? So it's like, well, I made this with these 3 cabbages. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then that would turn into me doing some customer events. So having some customers over. At first I was using a couple of home economists that I knew. And then I thought, actually, I've watched this enough now. I can probably do this myself. We had a pop-up. There used to be an Eat Newcastle festival. So we had a couple of pop-up restaurants as well. That's really hard work, but that was good fun as well. So I was watching what the chefs that we had for that were doing. And I was thinking, you know, I can use my project management skills to be able to think about, well, what dishes can I present at the same time as talking about it, doing the actual cooking. And so it's what I now call my intertwingling ability. So I can intertwingle recipes so that in half an hour I can do 3 recipes in front of you and just keep talking. Because the other thing that, you know, has come from the project management and the teaching and the IT is just, I can just, as you've probably tell from this podcast, I can't just keep talking. And to be able to,
the customers aren't disruptive or naughty, so that's good as well.
Well, that's it, exactly. Yeah, they're super grateful because you're helping them with a problem, you know, that they have. They've got 3 courgettes at the bottom of their fridge and they don't know what to do with it. So so that became what my secret sauce was, effectively, of in the business. And that I could acquire customers by doing these events. And I could also keep the customers that I had by doing these events. So I used to send out a weekly meal planner to them all, saying, you know, this is what's in your box, this is what you could maybe make and things like that. So I was using my love of cooking to intertwingle with the business. I know, sorry, made up word, but I just
words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it just sort of all came together in terms of what the customers were needing, what I needed to do in my career, and you know, and having a business and working that round, you know, what was a young family but has grown with me. So it all seemed to work out pretty well. So like I say, and we branched out about 3-4 years ago into doing actual classes. So we were doing demos and we would do like Tynemouth Food Festival, Living North and that sort of thing. Or we would, you know, every time there was an opportunity, I would either get some customers round to my house or hire someone. We would do like Christmas demos and things like that. But then the opportunity came to start doing cookery classes, in-person cookery classes. So we'd have about 10 people and we would shed loads of equipment to somebody's, to like a community centre or a church or a restaurant that was closed, and we teach 10 people about 4 or 5 veg-based dishes, and then we'd all enjoy them at the end. Oh, we'd all enjoy them together at the end. Let's just think about that for a moment and how great those were. And like I say, I can't imagine how that's going to work in the future, but let's hope we can work towards that. But yeah, that was great because we would acquire customers from that, or existing customers who maybe I'd only ever heard on the phone would come along to that. So it was really great. And from that, my franchisors always used to be continuing asking, how is it you've got such good retention? So I wasn't, you know, there was stats where I wasn't great, because if you've got a franchise, oh my goodness, they're obsessed with their stats. It's like, oh yeah, you haven't done this and this hasn't happened and that sort of thing. But the one thing that I never dropped on was my customer retention. Once I got a customer, they tended to stay for a good long while. And they were always, you know, they were always sending me like the new franchisees, go and talk to Gwen, she's got really good customer retention. And I could never give them, like I say, that secret sauce as to what it was. And I think I just came to it was just me. It was just the fact that, you know, if they got on the phone to me, they knew they were on for 10 minutes, and we would talk about the weather, their cat, their this, their that, and eventually get onto food. Or if I saw them, at an event, at a food festival, so I think it was just that, I do really care about my customers. I miss the Riverford customers that I had, and I care about the ones in my new business as well. So I was never able to be any help to the other franchisees or to Riverford to what that secret sauce was. It was just innate. It was just innate.
Cool. So then what happened?
So
it got to your new business.
Yeah, so it got to March last year, and Riverford expressed an interest in buying my franchise back so that they could run it themselves. And I've had 2 brilliant delivery drivers, and they promised they would take them on and work, look after them. Mm-hmm. So that was everything I needed, really. That I had a few ideas of what I wanted to do, but they weren't fully formed. And obviously March was when everything was happening with the pandemic as well. So I just made sure that I think I sold the business on the 19th of June. And then took a couple of months out to think about, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to being employed? Quickly didn't manage to do that. That didn't appeal. I think I'm just now too used to the flexibility of being self-employed. A friend, I went for one of our famous walks that we're all doing now, a coffee and a walk with a friend, and she said, what about this for a business? Why don't we want to do that? And I've long been frustrated in the Northeast by the fact that it's really, really difficult to get the tricky to find ingredients. So you can be driving to 4 or 5 different supermarkets or shops just to get the ingredients to make one meal. I'm cookbook obsessed. Absolutely, I've got so many cookbooks. I'm obviously cooking obsessed, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody could, watch what they were doing cooks were doing on the television, or pick up cookbooks, or see what was happening on TikTok, and be able to create those dishes in their own home. And it was people don't have the ingredients, they don't have the skills, they don't have the confidence, they don't have the time, and it was just to create a business where I could help with all of that and create something there. So first of all, I was thinking that it might be a shop, and it still might be a shop, but I don't think now is the right time to have a shop. So I've been looking at premises, and then I've put that on the back burner. So I did some hampers. So I did some ingredient hampers, which were, and I launched that in time for Christmas. So it was difficult to find ingredients that were matched up to my favorite cookbooks. So I found a brilliant Asian cookbook, and the author of that cookbook, Jennifer Joyce, has been so helpful and supportive. And then I did a big trawl of the internet and shops, etc., and matched what I thought were the key ingredients that would really set you off to be able to have your store cupboard stocked. You'd just be buying your fresh ingredients, and you'd be able to start off on your Asian cooking journey. So I did about 4 or 5 of those: a Moroccan one, a Middle Eastern one, a vegan one, a tapas one. And then that also led into us doing the cook-alongs as well. So we decided that what we would do is host some cook-alongs. We tested them out as freebies on friends and family, and they all seemed to love them, even though I think back to what we were doing in November and doing those cook-alongs. And once again, I'm mortified at the mistakes we made with those, but, we made the mistakes in the right place, didn't we, with our friends and family. And it just, the idea is that it just brings that whole experience of it's social. So you're getting to cook with your friends. It brings another, we're all missing our holidays now. It brings another cuisine into your kitchen. So the sights and the smells that remind you of when you were able to go and have tapas in Spain instead of having it in your own kitchen. And you're learning a new skill. You're learning confidence. You're getting to see the different stages. So it's all very well watching a quick 45-second TikTok. But if I'm at the screen holding up my bowl going, this is what yours should look like. Does it look like yours? No, stick a bit more water in. Then it just gives people a lot more confidence. And what I've found, the magic super sauce in doing cook-alongs in your own kitchen is you're much more likely to recreate those dishes. Much more. I can guarantee that when I was cooking, I was doing the in-person classes, people were going away having had a nice time. I don't think they ever recreated those dishes. Maybe 5% of the people I taught recreated those dishes. Now, the reports I'm getting back, so people are coming on the classes again and again, and they're saying, oh, tomorrow I'm making the Moroccan chamula chicken that I made with you 2 weeks ago, because there's something about going and finding that ladle, going to your local shop and finding that ingredient, having that ingredient, and doing it in your own kitchen that makes it's not me doing it and you just doing a little bit, it's you doing it in your kitchen. And that's what's brilliant, that lots more people are recreating the recipes. So it's definitely achieving what I wanted it to achieve, which is just brilliant.
I think that's always so there's a confidence element. I like being in your own kitchen. You're familiar with the utensils around you, your favorite knife. Yeah. Having someone show you, I like the realism of, if this is a bit thick, add a bit more water in. Yeah. Is it too watery? Then give it a bit more on the heat. And I think as well as people, we can fall into the routine of, we've got our sort of core dishes that we repeat all the time. Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll go through periods like that, won't we?
So boring.
Where it's like, I'm totally bored with this dish. What else can we do?
Apart from lasagna, because we can always have lasagna.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, yes, exactly. But there's adaptations. So when I'm cooking as well. So, for instance, if we're doing I'm doing a tapas class on Wednesday for a charity, and we're doing a baked tortilla, but there's so many different veg that you can do in that, so many different ways that you can adapt that. So it's giving people those adaptations and the confidence to say, look, you might not have red pepper, you might have a green pepper, you might have an aubergine, you might have a courgette. Just stick it in, just give it a go. And the fact that, and most often than not, someone will say, oh, I've put that in too early. It's like, I must say, it doesn't matter about 15, 20 times in a class. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. Whoever's come up with the recipe generally has done it in what they think is their most efficient way. But chances are, it'll work loads of other ways. There's some things that you have to be careful about, but it's just that confidence. And plus, like I say, it's just the people who I've had for classes on a Friday or a Saturday night, at the minute, what else are we doing? And it's so social. So I really try and make it social. I've got a selection of really bad food jokes that I'm working my way through. So I send out the preparation list beforehand, so people can gather their ingredients, get their equipment. And then a couple of days before, I send out a playlist tailored to that sort of what we're doing. So it'll be a Moroccan playlist or a Spanish playlist if we're doing tapas. The fake away playlist was a bit of a challenge, but there was a Tex-Mex element to that. So we went along that sort of thing. But just so that, you're in your kitchen, you're getting stuff ready. Let's have a bit of a dance. And it just gives us something else to chat about in the class. And we have a really lovely moment at the end where everyone shows me what they've cooked, and it's invariably, it looks delicious. It often looks better than mine because people have got some really lovely dishes out there. And then we do a little cheers at the end. I do encourage a bit of drinking after we've done the serious bit of chopping, not before. And so they're just, it's really fun. I just really loving them, but I am exhausted by the end because I'm really putting more of a performance in than I think when I was doing a in-person class. Once again, I was talking continually, but it didn't feel like if there was a like I had to perform as much as I do now. So I really do feel I'm putting my whole energy through the screen into those people's kitchens. And so I'm virtually catatonic after.
Nothing to do with the cheersing afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah, it could be that as well.
Reminds me of my mum's got a fridge magnet, and this could be one of your jokes for a future session.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the fridge magnet says, "I like to cook with wine. Sometimes I even put it in the food."
Yes.
It's sort of a...
Yeah, exactly, yes.
I can't think of what his name is. The chef, what was...
Oh, Rick Stein. No, not Rick Stein.
Rick Stein.
Oh, yes.
Floyd.
Keith Floyd, yes.
Keith Floyd. He'd always have a...
Yes, exactly.
Sipping this with a nice Pinot Noir as well, sitting outside.
Yeah, in the tapas class, there's a bit where you've got to chop really, really finely some potatoes. And I do that quite early on because the accompaniment to tapas is traditionally a chilled Fino sherry, which is, more pungent than a wine. So it's like, let's get this chopping out the way, and then we can get into the drink. But, that's what makes it great because, they're in their own homes. It's a Friday or a Saturday night. Let's pretend that this is normal.
Mm. Yeah, it brings a really nice social element to, instead of it being like, oh, it's dinner time, I've got to make some food.
Yes.
It makes that whole exercise much more fun, and then bringing the social element in and the added excitement of, oh, I've never used truffle oil before, or what on earth is harissa, never heard of it until you'd introduce this, and throwing in all of these elements together to come out with this
that's it,
wonderful
exactly.
creation.
And so we've started to do private parties now as well, and so we've done some for work organisations as well. So we did an orthodontist, which has got 4 branches across the north of England. So they came all together. So I did a kids one for the because obviously the parents have been homeschooling, so I did a kids one, and that was just an hour-long one. So that was great. We did meatballs and cookies. That worked out really well. And then a couple of days later, we did one for the adults. But some of the kids had enjoyed it, so they joined in with the adults one as well. So we had 13 people from all the different branches, and they really appreciated it because they hadn't been able to get together socially. And so they were having some great banter. They just had a lovely, lovely time. And then I've had a 50th birthday. So they did the cooking class, and then they started another Zoom after I had gone, and just enjoyed their meal together. I'm going to develop into, so in America, they're way ahead of us with this one. So they've got the idea of dinner and a show in America. So if you'll know, James, because I've read your blog about working in America. Dinner and a show is a massive thing there, isn't it? So you're eating while someone's crooning along in the background. But I'd really like to get to the concept of where we've cooked together, and then we'll eat, but we'll have someone on Zoom performing for us. So we're going to do that with my choir, actually. We're going to do that in the middle of April, and we're going to hire someone. So we're going to do a reduced tapas meal compared to my normal cook along, and then we're going to have someone while we enjoy it all together. And I just think that's just brilliant, a social bit of interaction that we can't have in any other way. So loads of ideas.
That's exciting.
I know. There's so much I want to do. There's so much I want to do with it.
You've got this magical project management skill, so I'm sure I have absolutely no doubt you'll sort it.
Well, that's it. Exactly. It is just a project management job, isn't it? It's like, finish this, tidy up, clean up, get the singer on, finish off, do this. It's it's just project management, isn't it, at the end of the day? Awesome.
So is there anything we've missed that we need to talk about before we move on?
Can I just mention my Tuscan one? Is that okay? Because I'm going to do a collaboration. My best friend from Leeds University, one of my best friends, lives in Tuscany. So we go over there quite often. She's converted a barn over there, and she into guest houses, etc. And what we've always planned is that maybe last year I would have went over and done some cooking classes. She's a fantastic cook, makes the best sourdough. I've had some amazing meals over there. So the plan was that I would go over and we would do some classes together. Obviously that didn't happen last year. She works for the NHS over here and was commuting back and forward, but has just managed to get back there now. So what our plan is for the spring and summer is we're going to do some collaborations. So if you can imagine, I'm going to be doing the normal Tuscan class. So we're going to, she made this amazing meal last time I was out there of aubergine parmigiana with some focaccia. So I'll do that, and then we'll be able to cut over to her, and she can pan across her, I can't remember how many hundreds of acres of Tuscan landscape. And we're just going to hopefully over the summer, while, you know, she's going to be a bit quieter. Obviously not many people are going to unfortunately be able to stay there, but we'll hopefully be able to bring a bit of Tuscan holiday spirit and Tuscan holiday tastes into people's homes. And my mouth's watering now with talking about that.
Yes, I love all Italian food.
Oh gosh, yes, exactly. There's so much to it as well. There's so many things that, you know, so many things we can explore. So so we're going to be doing some really nice things over the summer. That's the plan.
It's exciting. Cool. So we're going to move on to the quick fire round. So, James, would you like to answer the first really, really tricky question?
Question number 1. Which board game do you like the most?
Oh, I'm not a great fan of board games. We've got Stick Up and Shout. We love Stick Up and Shout. Does that count as a board game? Yeah, where you have to hold a letter up and then shout out the word that with that letter. We find that hilarious. We all, as a family, we just love that. And my kids are 19 and 16 and still love that game. So Stick Up and Shout, if that counts.
Yeah, it does count.
I'll accept that one, yeah.
Okay, question number 2 is, which is your favourite day of the week?
I like Thursday. I don't know why I like Thursday. Why do I like Thursday? When I was Northern Rock, that Thursday was night out night. Mainly because we thought it would be hilarious coming in hungover on Friday and trying to do some work. Maybe like I say, that's not great for Northern Rock, is it? But yeah, I like a Thursday.
Cool.
And question 3, if you inherited or won £1 million, what's the very first thing you would do with the money?
Oh, have a cooking school, have a building where we could have an actual cooking school. Yeah, I'd be straight down to the estate agent saying, what have you got? And yes. So I would spend some of it, and then maybe a couple of 100,000 just kitting it out with the best stuff, the best audiovisual stuff, the best cookers, all the best equipment. That's an easy one.
There was absolutely no hesitation there. Okay, and the question we ask all of our guests. So if we could take you back to have a conversation with your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give to you?
I would say try and work abroad for a few years. I think I should have done that. I didn't really get the opportunity, but you have to make these opportunities. So yes, I would do that. And I would say, for goodness sake, go on Concorde. So when I was at British Airways, there was a scheme where you could get a reduced flight to go on Concorde. And I just put it off. And then, of course, Concorde got decommissioned. And why? Yeah. Big regret. Yeah. So I'd say, for goodness sake, you might not think it now, but the opportunity will come up to go on Concorde. Go on Concorde. I went on it when it was on the ground, and that was fantastic enough, but should have went on it to fly.
Well, maybe someone will get to bring it back eventually.
Yeah. Yes.
They keep talking about it, but probably wouldn't be the same, would it?
It seems mad, doesn't it? It's a massive progression in aviation that just went backwards. Yeah.
It's a bit bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you never know as well. You could find yourself out in Tuscany doing cooking.
Yes, well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Exactly
awesome.
it.
So for our listeners, if you would like to follow or get in touch with Gwen, go to her website. It's fromscratch.co.uk, or look for her on LinkedIn, Gwen Young. Easy to find. We've really enjoyed talking and about food and feeling hungry and hearing your journey.
I know, absolutely ravenous now.
Yeah.
What's for lunch?
That's it, exactly. Yeah, yes, I need to go and have a look now. Well, I've got a Facebook Live later on tonight, so I'm going to be doing a pastry that you make on your saucepan. Mm-hmm. So I need to go and do here's one I prepared earlier. So that's this afternoon's project.
Yeah, we've got some sneaky frozen Marks and Spencer's pain au chocolat in the freezer. I'm like, well, we should probably just actually eat some vegetables.
Yes. Red pepper and pain au chocolat. I'm sure
why not? We got loads of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Gwen.
That's all right, no problem at all.
Thanks everyone for listening. Check out all the show notes at inspirationnorth.com. Join us again for the next episode when we'll be chatting to another inspirational person. If you like this, subscribe and tell your friends. If you didn't like this, subscribe anyway and tell everybody.